Hey, Lucy.
I've already been.
Oh.
Right outside of the last day of the season.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Like 24 hours. That's all I can do. John.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Okay, well, that's how it's done. Right there. There we go.
Wow.
Thanks, Kim. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deb Elzinga, and I'm the CEO of Community Frameworks. And on behalf of our board of directors and our staff, I want to welcome everyone here today to 1 South Madelia. First of all, I want to thank Senator Cantwell for all of her efforts to expand housing opportunities for our fellow citizens. Her work to expand and strengthen the low-income housing tax credit program is critical. And I know that the 118 residents who live here at 1 South Madelia are grateful for this important program. I also want to thank our local and state leaders, Mayor David Condon, Council President Ben Stuckert, and Kim Hermon, for their work in expanding housing opportunities for people across the state and in Spokane. The stories we're hearing from people on a regular basis is that all it takes is one unforeseen event to disrupt their housing stability. This past winter, one woman told me that because of a medical situation, she was evicted because she couldn't pay her rent. She was desperately trying to get her life back together while she was living in a storage shed that she had recently purchased. Another couple came to our office just last week telling me that they received a 20-day notice because their landlord had to do substantial repairs. They were not finding any options and were really worried about where they were going to live within their budget. These are the stories that we're hearing and that are happening right now because there just aren't enough affordable options. That's why it's important that the legislation like Senator Cantwell's Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act gets passed. Simply put, the housing that we provide at Community Frameworks and the others in the nonprofit sector who are using the low-income housing tax credit program allow people to live within their means. Families in our community are stronger when they can afford safe, healthy homes. Our rental homes ensure that a senior citizen doesn't have to choose between buying medicine or buying groceries. Our rental homes ensure that a single working parent doesn't have to choose between paying the utilities or buying new shoes for their kids. And in our rental homes, we connect our residents with important services and resources that help them improve their lives. We are stronger as a community when people have safe, healthy homes and can live within their budget. We applaud Senator Cantwell's work to strengthen the tax credit program and the much-needed funding to grow and expand the housing options for our fellow citizens. Thank you. And it is my pleasure now to introduce Fawn Schott from Volunteers of America. She's the CEO there and a champion of affordable housing here in Spokane.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Home is essential for a person's ability to thrive in a community. Volunteers of America is committed to ensuring that every single person has safe and stable housing and a place to call home, where they can retreat, recharge, and set themselves goals and contribute positively to this community. We have witnessed repeatedly the strength of individuals when they have a place to call home. Home sets the foundation for them to rebuild their lives, achieve stable employment, improve their health, and become involved in the community in a positive way. Low-income housing tax credits is one avenue that Volunteers of America uses to help end homelessness in Spokane. This legislation is critical to the well-being of Spokane and will be used to build the new Hope House housing complex and women's shelter that's due to break ground this fall. This low-income housing tax credit project will bring 60 affordable units for individuals who have experienced homelessness and have a disability. This building will also include a women's shelter that will house 100 women every night and help them on their journey out of homelessness. We know that when we bring someone from the streets to the safety and security of a home, with the support and resources that they need to achieve their goals, they become independent and a healthy part of our community. Low-income housing tax credits are critical to this transformational work. Thank you, Senator Cantwell, for your tireless work and advocacy for low-income housing tax legislation, and this will really help. Let's get this bill passed so it can really help us expand the work that's already been done. I would now like to introduce Ben Stuckert, our City Council President.
So in Spokane, we have a crisis in housing at all levels. We have 2% or less vacancy rates in both market rate and affordable housing. In 2018, we had 800 individuals in our community that had housing vouchers and had done everything right, but could not find housing. We are seeing homelessness increase, and lack of housing is a huge cause. But we all know that a roof over your head meets a basic human need. Low-income housing tax credits are a major funding source for projects in Spokane that provide this housing. This morning you see the collaborative nature of Spokane. You have community frameworks, Volunteers of America, Catholic Charities, and a resident from Transitions, each of them projects built using tax credits. What's particularly great about this bipartisan bill sponsored by Senator Cantwell is the increase in allocations by each state by 50%. This will result in 9,700 more units in Washington State over the next 10 years. Last week, I sat with a couple whose rent had increased by over 50% in 1 month. They were homeless by the end of last week. If we build more units under this program, they may have had somewhere to go. I urge all members of our congressional delegation to support Senator Cantwell and support these evidence-based solutions to our community's challenges. With that, I'd like to introduce Kim Hermon, Executive Director of the Washington State Housing Finance Commission and a champion for housing in our community.
Thank you. The Commission is responsible for allocating the Affordable Housing Tax Credit Program according to the needs of our state. What we're here for today goes beyond this city or this state. It is a nationwide movement, a call for Congress to once again protect and expand the housing tax credit. The credit is our country's most important and biggest tool for affordable housing. It puts literally billions of dollars of private money to work for the public good. Here in Washington, it has created or preserved more than 104,000 units of affordable housing over the past 30 years, including more than 7,300 units in this congressional district. We all know that that is not enough. With one of the best economies in the nation driving a significant population increase, our state is still behind by about 235,000 affordable housing, rental housing units to meet our growing demand. The housing tax credit is a crucial part of the solution, and that's why Senator Cantwell is fighting to increase and improve it. In 2018, thanks to Senator Cantwell's tireless work, Congress agreed to expand the 9% tax credit program temporarily by 12.5%. That 12.5% increase meant that last year and again this year, we were able to green light 6 additional properties that came to us ready to go and are now under construction or about to break ground. They are in rural, suburban, and urban communities statewide, in Redmond, Seattle, Ellensburg, Bellingham, Grant County, and one of them is just east of here in Airway Heights. The Arrowleaf townhomes built last year with 36 new affordable homes thanks to the increase. That's one of the unique strengths of the housing credit. It is flexible. It can be used in almost any size community to serve almost every need for affordable housing. It can build new apartments from the ground up, like this one, or it can rehabilitate existing units, like the historic Naval Barracks at Sandpoint in Seattle that just reopened as Mercy Magnuson Place 2 weeks ago. It can house people suffering from street homelessness and also working families and seniors. And it can and does make local and state dollars go much, much further than they otherwise could. The good news is that we have local officials, such as the mayor and the city council here, and state officials like the state representatives that are represented here that understand the importance of affordable housing and are investing in it. And Washington has experienced and conscientious housing developers, both public and private, that have housing projects that are ready to go when we have the funding available. Now all we need is the rest of the members of the House and Senate to join Senator Cantwell and her House companion by co-sponsoring the Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act. If we can add 3 housing projects a year with more than 200 affordable apartments with a 12.5% increase, imagine what we could do in this state with a 50% increase at 9%. It would add around 700 affordable apartments each year to what we're doing now, all desperately needed by people and communities. And across the country, the bill would develop literally thousands more. We can do it if you help convince Congress to step up and join our champion, our tireless champion, Senator Cantwell. Thank you, Senator, for your continued leadership. It is now my pleasure to introduce Spokane Mayor David Condon. Mayor.
Well, thanks, Kim. The last time I was testifying in front of your commission, so I also want to just in a public way thank Kim for his tireless years in serving in that capacity as we both go through some transitioning, over the next several months. But it's good to...
Taking that job?
No. Spread that one, Senator. Yeah. No. But it is good to be here. And Senator, thank you for bringing us together on this topic. As we sit here and talk about housing, especially as we think about housing being a home, we often talk about housing. Really, and those of you that are here, and I served on a community action agency for some 9 years on the board, it's about creating a home. And it's so exciting to be in this facility, and you'll hear in a moment about what it is to create a home. And that's what it is when you're in this line of work. At the City of Spokane several years ago, we launched a joint strategic plan. In that strategic plan with the City Council and with my administration, we launched One Spokane. As a part of that, we looked at how do we provide a safe and healthy community for our citizens. And that's what we're talking about. And so over the last several years, and in 2018 alone, we had essential safety repairs to some 283 homes. 32 affordable single-family homes have received significant rehab. 101 affordable units were constructed. 360 are underway. And 450 individuals received training on how do they buy their first home. Yes, a house, but how do they make it their home? What is exciting about the tax credit program is the flexibility. And if there's something that people should leave with today, and those that are watching this, is to see the flexibility at the federal level, the state level, and the local level. Kim said it perfectly. Often, with all due respect to the federal government, it seems to be one size fits all. With the leadership of Senator Cantwell, it really allows the flexibility for smaller communities in eastern Washington to larger communities like the City of Spokane, and more importantly, to our providers that provide the uniqueness. Because no matter what, it is that uniqueness that makes a house a home, makes an apartment a home, makes a cottage a home, like you'll hear from Mariah in a moment. And so it also allows the private sector to come along. It was great to hear Fawn talk about the Volunteers of America New Hope House. And as someone who has spent a lot of time in that Hope House, whether it be the Mayor's Day of Service or whether it be literally walking alongside the women experiencing homelessness, going from the Hope House to transitions to that programming, an understanding of what that looks like for our women that are experiencing homelessness, to now to the new Hope House and having that ability to graduate into apartments right above where they might have been seeking initial emergency shelter. It allowed Premier to come alongside and give one of their largest donations they've ever had in this area, $1 million to that, and continuing to build that collaborative effort from the federal government, the local, our nonprofits, and yes, our private sector partners. And so to that level of flexibility, that level of innovation is what this is about as we strive to continue to reduce the cost of homes, and also in these programs and others, we focus on that flexibility, we focus on that partnership. It goes right along with our One Spokane vision, where we first focus on the individual, the people, we focus on the programs, like this tax program, and then we focus on the partners. And by bringing the people, the partners, and the programs together, that's how people continue to call Spokane the city of choice for all of our citizens. And you know what? We're all here today because of Mariah, who will follow me in a moment, who has had the opportunity to call a cottage at Home Yard Cottages, a transitions initiative in neighborhood, to call that home. And I think it makes it all worth it when you hear from residents like we did here just several months ago, and now today from Mariah, who lives at the Transitions Cottages.
Before I moved to the Home Yard Cottages, I was fresh in recovery and looking for an opportunity to turn my life around. I had very little support in making those next steps. Walking into my cottage, I was so excited to have a place of my own to call home. Right off the bat, I made a goals list with my case manager, all of which I was able to accomplish in a few short months with their support. The case manager got me connected with Christ Kitchen and New Leaf Barista training program. After completing those programs, I was ready to move to my employment to the next level. I was able to gain employment at Starbucks, which was my dream job. Besides help in reaching my goals, the Home Yard Cottages has given me a supportive community through classes, meetings, barbecues, and gardening. I feel a part of something bigger than myself now. Thanks to the Home Yard Cottages, I have hope for my future and the ability to share that hope with others in my same situation. And now I would like to introduce a real champion for affordable housing, U.S. Senator Cantwell.
Which Starbucks? Which Starbucks?
The one at Safeway at Northwest Boulevard.
Okay. Mariah, thank you so much for putting a voice and face to this issue, and thank you all for being here today. I want to acknowledge that there are some others in the audience who aren't up here or who didn't get a chance to speak, but Aaron Williams with Lutheran Community Services, Kay Morano from the Spokane Low-Income Housing Consortium, and Rob McCann from Catholic Charities. Thank you guys for being here. So appreciate it. And also like that Representative Rochelle and Ormsby are here too. Thank you guys for being here. So we're here at One Medelia Project. I was here about a year and a half ago when the project was opened, and it's exciting to be back today and see the progress that's been made here in this neighborhood and how everybody has been impacted. But we're also here to talk about why we need to increase more access to affordable housing, not just in the state of Washington or the city of Spokane, but across the nation. I want to thank everybody who's already spoken, Fawn from Volunteers of America, who I guarantee you are a key player in all of this, particularly in Spokane. One thing you find out about affordable housing is there's always this community organization that is the glue, and so thank them because they have done great work. Also want to thank Hermon for his tireless leadership, and also Ben Stuckert from the City Council for his advocacy, and Deb, thank you, from Community Frameworks. I want to give a special shout out to the mayor because it was more than 4 years ago, actually, when we started our effort to talk about affordable housing on a nationwide basis. We started with the mayors of Seattle, Everett, and Tacoma in a place called Patrick's Place, Seattle, and then went on a nationwide tour to advocate for more affordable housing. Mayor Condon joined me at a facility here in Spokane to highlight the need, and I think Volunteers of America and others participated. But because of that nationwide effort over the last several years, last year the Cantwell-Hatch bill, which was a request to increase the affordable housing tax credit and to provide income averaging, something that the Ridpath Hotel actually used in their project, was actually approved by the House and Senate, but only gave us this $3 billion increase that we had sought along with those other improvements. But I want to thank the mayor for being here today as well, because we are now on the same kind of advocacy tour starting this week with the mayors of Seattle, Everett, and Tacoma in a place in Seattle, yesterday with the mayor of Vancouver, and today with the mayor of Spokane, asking the National Conference of Mayors to join us in this effort to advocate in September for the passage of a bigger increase in the affordable housing tax credit. I don't think we have to say more than the advocates have just said. They clearly have outlined why we need more affordable housing. But I think some of the examples that Kim illustrated are important to understand. The tax credit is flexible, and we're providing even more flexibility in our new Senate bill that is being co-sponsored with my colleague from Indiana, Senator Todd Young. In this legislation, we now make it possible to have veteran-only housing. The total project could be veteran-only housing. Second, we make it easier for formerly homeless youth to get placed in affordable housing, and we make it easier for women who have been the victims of domestic violence to also find shelter in an easier fashion. So besides increasing the affordable housing tax credit, and this is something that both New Hope and Nadelia I know a lot about, is about giving women access to these tools that help them put their lives on the right track. We met a similar woman in Vancouver yesterday with a young child who said literally she was homeless, but because of this, she now is out looking for work and being successful in her community. Well, as the mayor and the council member pointed out, that Spokane is also seeing a rise in economic activity. And because of that, you're seeing a rise in rents. And you're seeing a rise in the number of people who cannot afford housing because it's more than 33% of their income. In most cases of these people who are having troubles, it's more than 50% of their income. Well, what we want to do is pass a 50% increase in the affordable housing tax credit and help get 9,700 new units built in the state of Washington and thousands of more at the federal level. So we are going to ask every mayor in the nation to join us in this effort, because whether you live in Walla Walla or whether you live in Seattle, the affordable housing tax credit is of great use. I know Kim could go on and on about the benefits of affordable housing tax credit as it relates to the workforce in central Washington and to the amount of people that it has helped in that sector of our economy. But what people don't realize is that 90% of the affordable housing that gets built with the tax credit. So unless you increase the amount of federal allocation in the tax credit, no matter what a community does, we're not going to solve this problem. So we need our colleagues to understand that housing is stimulative. While the tax credit is a resource, it also generates jobs in the construction area. We believe that this could have an economic benefit of $48 billion over the life of the expansion of the 50%. We believe that this is important for people to understand, that housing needs a boost at a time in our economy when so many people can't find affordable solutions, and that it would help put a lot of people to work in the construction industry. But we also want our colleagues to understand the reasons why supply hasn't kept pace with demand. We have a change in demographics. We have more baby boomers reaching retirement. And in reaching retirement with, again, expensive rents, not everybody can afford affordable housing. We have returning veterans. We have workplace housing issues, as the mayor and others expressed, that are creating a demand on the amount of vacancy that is there in a community. And we have the other issues of dealing with populations of either mental illness or opioids or a whole variety of things that are causing problems in our community. But what we can see, particularly from our healthcare providers, is even they are facing the crisis. They are now saying they will pay for affordable housing as a better way to reduce their medical costs than actually continuing to see people. At the facility we had in Seattle, Harborview Hospital literally was helping finance many of the rooms in that facility just because they said it was more affordable for them to keep somebody in a stable environment than constantly being in their emergency room. So we can see that the lack of affordable housing is actually costing us. The costs don't disappear, they're just absorbed in a different place in society. So let's make this cost effective. And let's give people like Mariah and others the ability to get back to work. I hope that when we return in September, we can convince our colleagues as we discuss infrastructure, as we discuss tax credits, as we discuss many things, that we can make the affordable housing tax credit legislation a priority. I know that we have many bipartisan members of both the House and Senate who are sponsoring this legislation. In the Senate, it's Senate Bill 1703, as I mentioned, sponsored by myself and Senator Young from Indiana. And in the House, legislation is sponsored by Congresswoman Del Bene and Congressman Kenny Marchant from Texas. So we hope that this legislation will get our colleagues to be forthright in saying that the housing crisis can be addressed, but we need the help and support of this tax credit. Again, I thank the mayor, I thank the members who are up here, I thank our council leader, everybody for saying why we need this tax credit increase. Hopefully, we will get some results for you sometime this year. Thank you all very, very much. Take any questions, anybody has any.
We actually have some renderings here of some upcoming buildings, or an upcoming building, and then we're going to do a quick tour of one of the units here. So if you want to show the rendering.
Yeah, so we are really excited. This is our new Hope House women's shelter and 60 units of affordable housing. This ground floor will be the 100-bed women's shelter. And we were able to finance the top 60 units with the low-income housing tax credits, 90%. This will be for individuals previously homeless, coming straight off the street, and who have a disability. We are going to triple our capacity in our women's shelter. We currently serve 40 women a night, and we are pleased to say that our new shelter will have 100 beds. And we are really proud of our outcomes at Hope House Women's Shelter. We prioritize housing as an outcome for the shelter, and 40% of the women that enter the shelter find permanent housing within 90 days. So we are really excited to watch the transformation of our community when we're able to house and shelter 40 women a night and house 100 women a night compared to our previous 40.
That's great. That's a great combination.
And then Deb, for those who want to come, Deb is going to show us a unit here. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then if you have any questions afterward, we can do some goals night as well.
Thank you again for coming. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
How many more cities you got on this tour?
Well, we did Seattle.
Nice job.
I didn't go to